Hamachi taught me how to kiss. My small face in her hands, bony cheek blade wetting mine, breathing in sharp, lung-filled, as if she had just been born, and eyes so close, enough to smell giddy heat, oiled ringlets, like coconut, like matriarch, tough, brown, outside, tender, white, inside. So, later, when he put his tongue down my throat, I gave it back, because a man who doesn't know how to kiss you doesn't deserve to touch your hair. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to everyone who went before. This is such an inspirational time. Thank you to Lucy, thank you to Ursula, Elaine, everyone involved in putting this wonderful event together. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm going to read one poem today. I grew up incredibly displaced. My family moved every 2 or 3 years to a new country, so I think and I write a lot about identity, about home, about what it means to belong. A few months ago, I read an essay by Hélène Cixous in which she says, at a certain moment, for the person who has lost everything, whether that means a being or a country, language becomes the country. One enters the country of words. So I'm going to read a poem which is about walking into that country and also walking into this country, which I now call home. It's called C'est Poésie, which means it's poetry. Thank you for having me. C'est Poésie. Dublin Airport. Arrivals. I wait for the person who does not come. Each time the side-wide jaws of frosted glass glide open. Standing by a generic cafe chain where sparrows make a home, flitting low from the place where earlier rafters would have been. Man coming through with a boy, I assume, is his son, tired, both of them wanting to be elsewhere, breathing different air. But when he sees a bird, his eyes fill with wonder. L'oiseau, he points out to the child. L'oiseau. But this boy cannot see bird, cannot see life hopping across hard tiles, hiding amongst the cheap legs of chairs manufactured in China. Man, hunched now on haunches, eyes level with the boy's, bright, pointing with extended finger, l'oiseau, regardez là-bas. And in this moment I am back in Paris, giving my French viva at La Sorbonne, with Mademoiselle Willian's bejeweled hands pointing to a page in a picture book, a scene of domestic contentment, a mother in the kitchen, a sous chef daughter, a father with his feet up in front of the telly, and 2 boys playing with remote-controlled cars in the hall. She taps one manicured fingernail on the girl's hair. Regardez-vous, her gray-eyed gaze prods me for the word. Oiseau, I say, then again, willing the word to mean the thing that she wants me to name. But it isn't. It's shiver, and I will continue to confuse these two long after I've left France and I'm no longer forced to prove that I know what I'm talking about, or fudge my way through the intricacies of a foreign tongue. When I'll be able to buy things that cost more than 30 euros because I won't feel ashamed of not knowing higher numbers. And when passers-by ask me for the time, I will be able to tell them down to the minute, not rounded off to the hour or half. But right now, she is waiting, impatiently, for me to get it right, and I don't. So I point out the things I do know in lieu, la fourchette, les œufs, la poubelle, and wonder, idly, why the French gave dustbins such a pretty sounding name. She snaps the book shut, says, bien, ask me for the final part to make sentences out of certain verbs. First, aimer, to love. J'aime, I tell her. She waits. I sit there, and we wait. She makes a forward motion with her hand. I say, c'est tout. She shakes her coiffed head, no. Aimer quelque chose, ou aimer quelqu'un, bien sûr, mais j'aime seulement n'existe pas. Ce n'est pas possible. Earrings shaking. C'est la même chose en anglais. She finishes, defiant. But it isn't. Because in English, I can say, I love. Because love can stand on its own. What else is there? Oh là, c'est poésie, she laughs, batting the flawed thought away. Inquisitive bird hovering around, her fingers fringed with emeralds. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I feel like I'm about to ride out into battle with this music accompaniment. It's really great. I wish that just happened with every poetry reading. So I'm going to begin with a poem about growing up in my birth family alongside children in care. In Ireland, fosterage is a very old part of our culture. And in this poem, each girl is named for a powerful female figure from Ireland's warrior past. Sisters, let it be said, I cut a nick in my own skin, and by a spit became blooded to them all. Maeve swaddled in clean cloth like a gem, as her mother, aged 16, leaned against the kitchen counter and watched me hold. Bríd and Marie, found in a trailer by the river, speaking in a twisted song. Emer, who was always going home. Niamh, who I was wild for and who was wild for me, but who held me under in the pool until both of us were dragged out of the water sobbing. Dara, who pulled her shirt up to reveal a string of roses on her ribs. Here are the gifts of my father, she said. Grace, who could fix any error with a piece of purple gum. Sarah, pure as water, bold as fire. I can still see her tear across the hill on that guy's motorbike, high-headed and ready for battle. Tailed women, denim stealers, alley girls in white musk with 9 lives. These were my sisters. We argued over top bunks, we bled on sheets. We were 4 in a room the winter the house was falling down. We wrote letters to the man on the radio. We scanned the news for names of the dead. We curled letters inside bottles and threw them out to sea. We snapped wishbones, swore on graves, buried our treasure. We swung the gold of our mothers over our palms 3 times and asked the air, will I be loved? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? So I grew up in a place called the Hill of Saints, which is a site on which there was a Christian narrative. Bloodroot, the title of my book, and I became very interested actually a wild in the lives of saints, commonly used as a balm for skin wounds. This poem references the life again as an ode to my foster siblings, who was a woman in the 14th century to the idea of the wild came from a very peace-loving family in Italy, but who married into the mafia, and in quite an unfortunate twist of events, her husband and her sons were victim to violence and killed. Rita of Cascia, patron saint of impossible cases. Each Friday, fresh figs and roses from the market. When we make love, I say his name. But soon he prefers me only in the wool dress. No longer am I a sweet pot of honey, now I am a swarm of bees. He lies one evening on the bed and swats me away. I'll give you something to pray about. I bathe my wounds in a mellow stream and dream the deaths of even my sons. I see a trout in a net squirming for air. 18 winters enter the heart like a stale scent, and by the time I find myself alone again, I am too old and too scandalized to serve among strangers. I must prove myself once more. For a whole year, I tend a grapevine for a single bloom. I live with worms in my head. I learn to love a thorn. What can I tell you about suffering? Nothing is impossible. So it's said that to date, 100,000 women have passed through the Irish mother and baby homes. It's a very dark part of Irish history. And it's a very prominent theme in my own book because in 1951, my own grandmother from Derry, pregnant, unwed, alone, was one of these women. Penance for a girl in trouble, 1951. Shame. Use this word when you speak of love. A man of cloth will come. Your new home is among brides. Deny the child inside you is the child you dream at night. And when they cut short your hair, watch the cuts fall like the soft fur of an animal held still by threat. Find a pale rose climbing a wall and consider yourself smaller now than even a thorn. In your starched uniform, step into a nameless stream, feel the coldness between your thighs, say aloud, in this life I am drowning. So I think we're in the era of testimony, and hearing a lot of the stories belonged to women who passed through the homes and to the children who are now the adult survivors of the homes. And what I really hope we'll hear next are the stories of the men whose lives were entangled with these institutions, the fathers, the brothers, the male relatives who signed women in. This next poem is for a grandfather unknown, and it references the fact that I didn't know my own grandfather. He was lost through the home's history. And I think that void in my family ancestry has been part of the reason why I wanted to become a writer. We're compelled by mystery. The poem references Connor from Irish myth, who also didn't have a father. He was conceived by a bird who flew in a window and flew back out again. Handy. So this is called Dura Honor, which is Woods of Connor. To you I owe my thirst, for a name gets passed down through the spear side in underland streams that pulse with clear meaning and thrive towards the lips. A name is how we match our tongue to the source and taste our own sediment. To you I owe my whole obsession with the sky above the bog, the blues overspreading sods stacked up in neat triangles towards the sun. To you I owe my hunger, for metaphor is a failed attempt to speak in common terms, and I was raised on the hill of King Connor, who conceived by a bird braved the air in fluent wing. So my last poem was written at the Castle Pollard Mother and Baby Home, where my father was born and where he became separated from his family for over 40 years. It's also the title poem of the book, Bloodroot. Behind the gates, a black awakening of trees, were you made to kneel here too, Mary, Josephine, Bernadette? If I call you by your house names, will you speak? Torn avenue and pillars either side, I am here for the girl who had birds in her eyes. If I render a wing, may she speak? Father, with 2 red seeds in your palms, if I show you my bones spilling out, will you show me a stone in this yard that can speak? Doors, if I stitch you a collar of lace, all spring as I wait for the firstborn heat, please, won't you open and speak? Home, if I press my lips to your ruins, 3 times and circle the grounds like a beast. If I say my route to this earth, who will hear when I speak?
Thanks so much. Thanks to all our readers, performers and poets. That was really something. So we're entering into the final third. There's 3 more poets left, so we're just going to introduce those before Farah gets up and sings some more amazing songs for us. Lyanna O'Hara is a student on the MA in Creative Writing here at UCD. Her work appears in Black Bough Poetry's broadsheet 12. Liz Houchen is a poet and writer living in Dublin. Following a career in corporate communications, she's now currently completing her Masters in Creative Writing at UCD with a poetry collection inspired by Bauhaus weaver Annie Albers and the weaving industry in Ireland in the 18th century. And Emma Kern will finish up the day for us and needs possibly no introduction whatsoever, although he's giving me eyes here, so maybe I better say something. I read with, or performed, or shared a stage with Emmett just before the repeal vote last year. That's why I put him last. No one should ever have to follow Emmett, I don't think. So Emma Kern is an award-winning actor, playwright, poet and voiceover artist from Tala in Dublin. He achieved national fame for his 7-minute short film Heartbreak, which is amazing, and on the YouTube, and has worked extensively in television and film from The Big Bow Wow and Legend for RTE and Jack Taylor for TV3, and I know he's going to do something quite exciting from Dublin Old School today, I think. Yes. Just before I finish up and stop annoying everyone jumping up and down between poets, I think it's really important to acknowledge UCD's amazing work for poetry. And when Natalia said, that you hadn't heard some of these poets before, I could be corrected, but I think this is one of the few standalone just poetry reading events. You know, literature festivals have poets and fiction writers and essay writers, but I think there's been a huge decline in just poetry events dedicated towards poetry, both written form, and I think UCD are incredibly brave with allowing me, to invite whoever I felt was current at the moment, and being very open-minded about that performance poetry / written poetry / canon sort of mashup. And I think that's really, really important. And I know the library has been a bit noisy, and we've had drums and wonderful children's sounds and stuff, but I think in the middle of summer to have a library in a university alive, and I work in NUIG, so I shouldn't be promoting all this, is absolutely testament, and to all its special collections, and to Lucy for all her help, Ursula, Eugene, Evelyn, Laura, and everybody that works here at Special Collections and in the UCD Library. I think it's pretty amazing that you're so current with poets and contemporary poets, and your archive work is amazing as well. So I think UCD deserve a really seriously loud round of applause. And with that, I'm going to invite Farah up to sing some more. Okay, I'm going to move all your bits and pieces.
Hello again. I'm gonna sing a song in Arabic, which is my mother tongue. I'm from Libya originally. And this was something I did for a show last year about a boat building family in Donegal. And my role was to sort of represent what boats mean to immigrants. And we had some sort of kind of, how would you say, there was definitely a sense of some of the crises that are happening all over the world. So it was interesting because the boat building family that we were working with was just, chatting to us about what it meant to build boats and what it meant to have boats on this pier. And the term that they used for boats that weren't from their pier was strange boats. So I wrote a song called Strange Boat. I'll give you a translation after. روحت هنا والباب مفتوح والناس بحثوا في هالقارب غريب أنا حديد وأنا أمان وصح أنا غريبة وبيتي بعيدة فقلبي ثقيل لأن بيتي بعيد أرجع حبيبي لعند الصباح توا إجيك بنهاية النهار والقمر ثقيل عند الصباح توا إجيك بنهاية النهار بنهاية النهار بنهاية النهار. Thank you. So what that means is, and just to give you some extra context, Islam is based around the lunar calendar. I was raised with a Muslim background. And just there on Tuesday was Eid. Yes, or Monday even, my bad, which marks the end of Ramadan, which is a month where you fast when the sun is out. I stopped fasting years ago. I started sneaking hula hoops to school when I was like 15. But this still does something for me. So there was a new moon, which is what Eid is. There's a new moon on Monday, and that's a really good time to set out intentions for your future and to let go of things that don't serve. The translation of that song is, I came home here with the door wide open. The people are looking at me, this strange boat. I am iron and I am hope. Yes, I am strange and my home is far away. So my heart is heavy because my home is far away. If you wait for my love until the morning, it will come for you. Before the end of the evening, the moon is new until morning. My love will come for you before the end of the evening. That's that one. All right. So this next song is called Desert. There's an island, I call it the stars. It's where you'll find it, it's calling me far. Can't deny it, I'm calling you mom. Won't conspire it, believe that it's calm. In the desert, it's calm. In the desert, it's calm. Water, water, wash away. Water, water, wash away. There's a fire that's burning my lungs. I'm relying on universe now. I'm so tiring to be with right now. Take me far away from all of the crowd. Water, water, wash away. Be with water every day. Water, water, wash away. Oh, so I will try to be with water every day. In the desert, it's calm.
in the desert. It's caught. There's an island, I call it the stars. I'm relying on universe now. I am so tiring to be with right now. Take me far away from all of the crowd, out to the desert, out to the desert, out to the desert, oh, out to the desert, oh.
Thank you.
Hello. I'll read 3 poems, and the first one is called Bench. Bench. Cold steel son of a hardwood, hardwood. Paint splinters invitingly if you've no business here. Stone of yesterday now iron pressed into tired back sleeve. Gaps almost wide enough you'd sink into sleep. Roll over, 2 cold shoulders, trace patterns of white bird leftovers on torn coats. Future brides cast out. This bench harbours much, but never home. This one's also really cheerful, and it's called Growth. Limping green leaf touched his shoulder, draws a bridge between body and the wall. In the only photograph without a rough edge, witness to a missing sister, or blurry fingerprints confusing the frame, unfiltered raw material, a bottle of milk, and a children's book. Monkey, a tale of a boy and an old hag who mends ragdolls. My own terribly white against the blues of our attire. Fine polo shirts, smudged at the cuffs. Shiny trousers reflecting the flash, illuminate the missing monkey. Nowhere to be found, not even in what was, but really is. A folded newspaper, the ink merging with milk, the collar of the slats locked together like bones. Left hand holding my foot. At 3 years old, I am the wall against which new hips are steadied. And fathers are weightless, lifted upon shoulders, because you don't know what falling is. Ink prints of hands left on walls, so if you like geometry, calculate where shoulder hit the wall. Limping green leaves, blue. Hair will grow darker over time. Curls disappear, and a mother's pride ebbs away with every haircut. But here, somewhere between green and blue, we are framed by a mother's watchful eye. And I thought you too were watching over, but really, you're asleep. The ungiving slats are swallowing wilted bits of leaf and flakes of leather, and something else is already eating your spine. No premonitions, no talk of discoloured bones or lumps, or placing a coin under your tongue. No missing monkeys, only a daughter, a newspaper, and a bottle of milk. Thank you. And the last one is called Soap. And again, it's about fathers, because what is not about fathers. So, the summer my father pushed me off the boat, I must have been 12. The keys to his house in my pocket, and my sister's hyena laugh as I went face first into the lake. I remember a mother calling, too much oil on the surface, my pockets heavy with water, and how he left me there not to drown, but long enough to lose the keys to his house. Before you went under, warning me, don't look, you said, and disappeared. I licked a bath bubble off my lower lip, and you did not surface. This is what I remember. Don't look at me, torn trousers, white snakes of dental floss holding them together. I wish we were. Hurling spit at the hexagonal stones, now a televised battleground, and you said, these columns are unforgiving, one slip and you're gone. Much like this, bubbling gold sucked into a needle from a silver spoon. Homebrewing saliva now, I remember that then I tasted the sea, and I know it's not a long way home from here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, lovely to be here, and thank you to UCD pretty much for everything. In the 18th century, the weavers of Ireland were banned from exporting their products, and Jonathan Swift wrote a letter pleading for help about what was happening to them. Concerning the weavers, when you make a fool of a man, unpick his cloth and fray his hem, press him to work more for less, chain him to a worthless loom. When rolls of silk lie in piles beside yards of cotton, shored up against boxes filled with spools, threads of waning industry. When calls from France for lace and Spain for linen fade to distant echoes for the want of drapers' trade. When Swift can no longer tell an animal from a hungry man, walking with spirits spent in the shadow of the liberties. When you suppress a nation with the vigor of a rabid dog, drive a rod through the spokes of the last spinning wheel. When damp and mold spreads from yarn to heart, ripped clear of reason and left in shreds with no means to end. The choice of dye for your parliament robes becomes claret, crimson, ruby, scarlet, cardinal. Thank you. And I'll finish with a poem that's really just about love. Dumb cow. You wake up and, no, wait. This isn't awake. That beeping is in your head, and the sound of distant laughing, like the tail end of a party at your neighbour's house, that's in your head too. But they are such different sounds. The beeps are on the right side and the laughter's on your left. But now there's another voice coming from the back of your head, a calm, cold, God-man voice. Let's get you down to theatre. I think baby is getting a little tired, a little distressed, a little close to organ failure. Mum is getting tired too. Mum has had the epidural needle break on her spine as the nurse holding her still raises her eyes to the other nurse while the anaesthetist fails again and asks for new needles. But there's too much swelling now and everything has gone too far. But not far enough for them to call your consultant. And you can't call him because you've lost your voice. Irish pregnancies result in mutism, and nobody on Mum's net told you. Because maybe in the UK, you only get stretch marks and high blood pressure. And it's weird. Because you can hear your voice, and you know that your baby is speaking through you and is telling you to tell them that it's all going wrong. And the yoga hasn't worked. And you're not a dumb cow. But maybe you are, because they keep leaving you and leaving you and leaving you. And then a new nurse comes in and looks at the trace, and then looks again, and there's a trace of something on her face that gives you hope. But you're not trying to speak anymore, because mute is mute, and when you lose your voice, you lose everything. And you whisper, sorry, to your baby, who's now communicating directly with the nurses in beeps and graphs that are shouting at anyone who will listen. And then your consultant appears at the end of your bed, and the first thing you see is that he's wearing a cricket jumper over his shoulders, tied in a considered knot that tells you that he didn't break any red lights to get here. Did he wait till the end of the century? Because he can't hear you either. And that's the end of the voice from the back of your head. The beeps and the laughter are no longer in your head, and your eyes seem to be moving beneath their lids to get your attention and tell you that you are awake. And if you're awake, then you must be alive, but they can't tell you what kind of alive. And that's all you want to know, because an alive mother with a dead baby is a different kind of alive. And you don't know because they put you to sleep and you miss the whole thing, whatever that was. And the nurses are still laughing at the nurses' station, and they can't see that your eyes are pooling with tears of terror and unknowing. And in a way, maybe you want the unknowing to last a little bit longer, because you don't want to know, because the big question is bigger than girl or boy or big or small. And then you hear another voice at the end of your bed saying, hey, in his whisper voice, which isn't ever really a whisper, but you don't mind that now, because your eyes flicker open and you see his tired smile, and he's holding a blue blanket with a breathing baby inside, and he says that everything's fine, and he hopes you don't mind, that he gave him the name Benjamin. Thank you.
That was brilliant. That was really amazing. I'm going to do a piece from a spoken word play that I wrote called Dublin Old School. Myself and Natalia are kind of in the same school, I think. I'm a good bit older. Where I suppose everything that we write, I'm a playwright, and everything that we write essentially is done to be performed, not necessarily always written down and read over. When the play was published, an English publisher had to go through it and basically ask me what the difference between chumfella and chungfella was. So I didn't know myself. But yeah, the play is based on a meeting that I had with my brother in London about 20 years ago, and then an extrapolation of what would happen if I met my brother in the streets of Dublin. And it's also a kind of PN to the lost generations that had to emigrate during the crash, because it's about those people as well. And it toured all over the world, and the bittersweet kind of moment was when we went to London to do it in the National, and a lot of those people that the play was about were in the audience, and amongst the bemused English audience who were trying to figure out why we didn't sound like Sean O'Casey characters. I don't think they got it. Hopefully you guys do. Okay. This piece is one of the spoken word elements within the two-hander, and it happens just after the drug dealer that has given the lads ketamine has collapsed on the ground. UCD. Leave Hunter S. Thompson on the deck and we're gonzo. On the ones and twos, the blues choose to take the fucking chase. Rhino flashes the badge, Bobby bends the cadge, the bottle of Madge. Elvit, I class that bottle nice and tight. There's an everyone across the road screaming, ah, here, leave her out, and we're gone. Bobby blows past the antique clock, so Francis Street faster than light. I launched like a locker lamb alley to the right. Now something just popped me pocket. Was that the phone? Fuck, I'll have to drop it. Rhino takes me to catch with the cardio skills to match. So quick as a breeze, I'm leaving the wee side of the road, and I'll be told, cheeky little wave looking back to me. Don't mistake that shit for alacrity. It's perspicacity, it's tenacity of temerity, of focused serenity. The other angles of escape and give a little hope. I'll interlace this verse with a few insults like, here, get it, you fat fucking dope. Old Taylor's Hall, scurry over the wall, I fall back to the 18th century. This old Dublin acts like a sanctuary. That's a half rhyme, but it acts as a make weight to save me from the agents of the Free State. This place is frozen in time. A stone-walled garden inured to the dirt of Dublin 8. I stick my head over the wall, and the heat and the noise of the city hits me face like a hot gush of piss. Fuck did I leave that bike? It's on the corner where we met Dave the Rave. Is that why Bobby brought me there? Hopefully he let those cops down a hole and is sitting pretty somewhere. Check. For the inefficient intermittent, gather patrols, then I head into the red brick warren of the liberties. I am like rabbit when I run. Me head periscoping with those quick necks and checks, and all the lads on the smoking steps. Gone by the days. What? Sneaky cycle down Mead Street the wrong way, past the traders that still peddle their wares, that giving the crooked stairs, and my place of work where you can still get 12 inches of vinyl. On Fridays we close up shop at 6. Nose point in the Pygmalion. I'm rattling, doing me best broken dishwasher impression over an ale. You see, I know I slept, but I have no memory of it. I have that fear that comes with the lack of recall. I need to stay off the K. All it ever does is put me in a hole. It's like that little climber in The Price is Right. You know the one. Just enough, and you get a little cash prize of a buzz, but too much, and then you ballymun down the side of a cliff into an anaesthetic abyss. I don't remember ringing Bobby to come get me. Speaking of which, where's he? Lisa's gaff, maybe. I'm halfway up South Circular, and I can hear Lisa's gaff before I see it. Lisa answers a door, head full of, what is that, toothpaste? It's peroxide. The place is wall to wall. People in the hallway and in every step of the stairs are tread through. Everybody's just off work and stocking up from stock boys, data entry, brickies apprentice, architects, customer service, civil service. The trudge of the mundane on the brain, they're all here getting ready to give their minds a chemical kicking. Now I have the fever and I want 4 dibs. This is a designated session gaff. You wouldn't want to live in it. A faded Victorian that's now somewhere between student digs and a fucking crack den. I walk into a packed kitchen and I see Bobby cooking Dave the Rave's ketamine in a microwave. What are you doing? You're going to sell that. The microwave dings and the liquid is evaporated into a large plate of Class B dust. Anybody want a bump? People crowd the plate and tuck. Pigs with piggy bank cards queuing at the trough. I hear that light, salty, crystallised ketamine crush under a note and a glass bottle, and then the push up the nose. I see the crinkle of the faces as it stings. Do you want some? Oh, I'll bang her just a smidge. Head back throws, brain blossoms like a rose, but then withers and dies. I'm playing catch up, so I crack that rapper madman on the counter. Grey and white rocks the size of Jolly Rancher. It's a napalm explosion in the Southeast Asian jungle that is my fucking nose hair. Agent Orange defoliating me brain. Head into the sitting room. See people sitting down on the floor, doling out pills and drinking cheap cans of beer beside a dirty tricolour that hangs from the hearth of the fireplace and a Fido Dido poster hanging on the wall. Grab the bike. Still early light, vanilla on the back of the black pit's town is pulsing, it's moving, boys and girls shouting, get up, to prove to them and their friends that they exist right now. Down Georgia Street, Exchequer, slide into my lane, then I stop, climb the bike, then I drop. 6 cans for later. You see, come 4 in the morning, I will be the man with 6 cans and a plan. Turn the tight corner past Andrews Lane and the cool gay kids of the LGBT smoking outside the club with the war paint on. The battle ready but not yet battle weary. These kids are just on the cusp of their war, a defiant chant of and what the fuck are you and what now are you for? Back in the track, left lock, the bike central bank cut into Temple Bar. Bodies on the cobbles outside the hub. Now that's a club. It's a basement, dingy, sweaty, sticky, absolutely perfect for raving. Downstairs and the place is empty. Aaron's on the decks. I'm feeling slightly brazen now with the chemical courage. I feel the back of my neck go up and the corners in me mouth go down. Al the promoter sidles up. You okay? Yeah. Aaron's kind of playing his own tonight, yeah? head into the cubicle, space out, looking at the graffiti. And then I head back into the darkness. Place is packed. How long was I in there? Lurch forward towards the left speaker. I see Lisa, Bobby, Kev, Glenn biting their bottom lip, pushing and pulling a 5-foot invisible handshaft in front of them, trying to work their imaginary rave machine. Some bloke just wandered in from Harcourt Street and is giving Lisa the Omar Sharif. Hello, my lady. Where are you from? Fuck off, boy. I'm Raven. The DJ builds a groove in a seamless nature until the place explodes and people jump trying to get to the floor above them. The bass, the beats, the hi-hat hits, and then it's lights on, shouts out, my tune, and you spout into the street. Clothes stick to the skin. There's a foreign coat wet top on the back. Yo, fuck, that's mine. 5,000 butterflies flapping their wings on every vertebrae of my spine. Dublin, 3:30 in the morning, and everybody is desperately trying to find a session. Is it here? No, it's there. It's this gaff, it's that gaff. Hey, listen, you can come, but like, don't bring all the riff-raff. Thank you. As he said, it's kind of exists between that kind of nexus point of spoken word and hip-hop, and it's, yeah. It is what it is. The next one, and I did say to Lyanna I was going to do this, the next one's called Heartbreak. I should prefix it just by giving some kind of framing of it. It was written for part of a show called Riot, and because I'm a playwright, they asked me to write kind of 4 poems, and most of the time I write them from a narrative perspective, some kind of story that's happening. I understand the deeply problematic aspect of a man speaking in a woman's voice or trying to speak for a woman. But the poem isn't about that. The poem's written really from the perspective of a young man who was raised by a very strong and moral woman. And kind of, it was also about my girlfriend, who's now my fiance. And it was also around the debate that was happening at the time in 2016. We wrote the play as an alternative reaction to the celebrations of 1916. And there was a lot of talk about the promise that was given in 1916, but when it came to it, you know, we were left wanting in many respects. And actually a Trinity academic who was bullying a young pregnant mother who was a single mother, I should say, who was bullying her, kind of talking about, you know, when she should and couldn't have children and if she wants to have future kids. So I kind of got a bee in my bonnet about that because she was like 17, 18. So it's kind of for him. And this is for a record now, so I've never said that before, but yeah, it's for him, it's for my fiance, and it's for my mother. So, yeah, it's called Heartbreak. Heartbreak. Young one wakes to the morning after. Sees graffitied marker, friends' names written on the rafter of her sister's bunk, who's no longer there, disappeared, a feather blown to the night winds where someday young one hopes to follow. Black permanent smell, sweet in spells, Christine, 1916, Deborah, up the Ra, Jenny loves Carl, Taylor is a slag, I love Sean. Her face is a picture of grace, as she reaches, touches, runs her hand along the bunk, thump, 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 now who'da thunk? Her ma made it home. She'll be early morning lucid. When Mam's hazy, she lets young one and school friends sit in the box room, listen to tunes, smoke squidgy like cavemens from the BC Wens. They write the happy story of their lives on the bedroom wall, and it belies a hurt narrative. The ma folk does not give because she is well with the daddy the picture why he has been over recently. Young one has got breasts and attention, and not just boys, I should mention, but fully grown men who remark, well, she's an old 15. But an absolute 10. And that was when the boy started yelling, here, here, here. Come here, come here, come here. Let me show sweet obscenities in your ear. Heartbreak. She does double take and sees Sean. She feels she likes this one boy because he didn't shout. No. Young one is special, young fella said. She always thought her first time would be in a bed and not the back end of where 2 housing estates meet with a dog barking. But I think when he said it, he meant that he truly did, because he's not like all those other boys, but he is still just a boy who's pulling out early. She sits in a chemist queue for the patronising talking to. Well, if I knew this was going to happen, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So she bounces. Weeks later, stomach follows suit. Sister no longer there for the voice, and if they were together, they could be stronger. And one of our friends simply said, Stinger. Her ma said, here, come here, come here, come here. Look, listen, understand. There's no money for the trip on the Ringer. That's only for those who can. Heartbreak. But now it's a child she has to make. No longer dropping yolks, but dropping little prenatal vit hit. She thinks she sees from this 3D, orange rendered 3D picture of my little squidgy. It doesn't look or feel real. And the chemicals that at 12 had only just started quieting down are whipped up into a sensation, conflagration of emotion, puts her head on the brinks, and she thinks, heartbreak. She has the baby on her own, but for its sake, she resolves to love this thing more than she would ever loved herself. But the gaff is still ill. The hours on the trail at the back end and the hallways are still full of new come here's every weekend. So she kicks it to a back alley B&B, asks a dirty, grubby, blue-shirted TD for help, and the problem compounds when he says, go back to your mum's. Sound. The newspaper learns of her predicament, asks for a photograph and an interview, so she rocks this little €15 boo-hoo made by her counterpart on the other side of the globe. Look at her. She looks fine to me. My tax euros mean she gets everything for free. What about cherishing all of the children equally? Was a rebel poet's way of describing Catholics and Protestants living harmoniously under one flag. Not so my taxes could pay for our house for the working class slag. Heartbreak. But now it's money she'll have to make. Young one grows and gets a job just to prove them all wrong. She kicks the rhyme in a 0-hour contract, no overtime. How can you walk your way out of poverty and down, trodden property and keep getting poorer while walking? She shouts, because prices go up and wages go down. Now she'll have to do more to change this salacious situation. Progression she feels will only come through education, because she thinks, she figures she's already rolled once, don't slip, rolled twice, unpaid internship. Don't even bother trying to look again. There's no 7 because there's not even a fucking dice, because shit is stacked from the get-go. It's the myth of meritocracy. Michael Young coined the phrase as a pejorative terminology, and it's used to abuse the children like her of the poor and so-called low achievers. But this is hectic. So what's the metric of success? Even if pejorative, she resolves to make education a categorical imperative. The boy goes tall and strong, and school becomes a place for the two. And now, inspired by a brilliant teacher, she's not yearning for learning. No, she's just learning for earning. No, she's just learning for learning's sake. So she can articulate this incandescent rage between all the young women in Ireland in 2016. She learns things like constitutional refusal of bodily autonomy, thinks this is backwards blasphemy. You mean, as a woman or plebeian in this country of opportunity, this ceiling is this shamrock colour green glass to me. Oh, you'll only get the last of me, and still dealing with the ignominy. You're getting followed and hollered at in the street in spite of her undergraduate accomplishment. Relax, darling. Take it as a compliment. Boys, leave it out. Look at her. She's a mother. She says, stop. Here. Come here, come here, come here. Look, listen, understand. I'm not defined by the fact that I'm some man's daughter, sister, cousin, mother. I am a woman and I have agency just because I'm breathing air, motherfucker. And I'm standing here, motherfucker. And you in this state are the ones who are trying to fuck me. The boy sees this treatment in the street and from the state all his life, so he decides to regulate. But young one now, fully grown, tries to shake this rage and build this young man, this young boy. He will be the best elements of femininity, wrapped in a benign, feminine, masculinity. The man she always hoped for. He will love you. To the end of days, traverse space and time and do even more. And with her words, her life, a mixture of loving and ethics with food in his belly and all the right seasoning. And from that instant, the child achieves cognitive reasoning and then maturity. He will be the man to settle up the score and say, yeah, ma, you embody all that is good and are the one that I am fighting for. I will never catcall. I will treat, respect, and help to build a land that will stand in awe of all men all. Heartbreak. Heart mend. Thank you. That's the time. Just finish with one last bit from Dublin Old School, something a bit happier. This is just towards the end of the play. It's just a kind of love poem of two people who haven't met each other in a while. And yeah. She asked, can we talk? Well, this is it. Tell her now. The wheres, the what ifs, the who's and the how. She asked, can we talk? Yes. I follow. We run up onto the roof. Over she lurches and laughs. And I follow. She's a statue of an angel. I'm a panting gargoyle peering in scutch face down into the rain as it hits the orange street-lit puddles of Dublin dirt. I follow. She grabs me hand and pulls me through the building's aluminium-stained vents and veins with a hum that matches me heart. The rain beats out a little ping, ping, pinging, ringing, a little Caribbean melody on the Jamaican kettle drum that is our thin metal roof, hidey-ho, safe from the city and the session. She tries to shh the rain and pushes me gently against the tin. It gives a little creaking, complaining warning of, what are you doing? What are you doing? She turns around and I pull down and I see that lower nape and there's no going back. People laugh in the street and it drifts, carried off by a high tide liffey. It lifts my voice and my words with it. She pulls me close and the faint whiff of her neck is enough to wipe away any MDMA-induced asexual ideas I had. I clasp her hand between the two. Now there's a small thumbnail of distance and existence that exists between me and between you. I look up to the skies and I try to pick through the raindrops and see through this maybe future as 1,000 timeline possibilities hit me face. She says, you hear that small slip of a river? At night, that silver sliver of a river that cuts through your cheek and the city and separates me from you. I miss the touch of your hand and the sweat of your soul on your brow. And then she tells me how this is bliss. And then my brow is pressed on her breast and the rest of my soul and control of the whole of my heart. And it says, yes. It says, oh. And it says, yes. And it says, oh, and it says, baby, I can't hold it much longer. So, what do we do now? Oh, you think this meant that? And I'm heading off to London. Look, this might be the blue ghost talking, but I never told you I love you. Oh, poor Jason. You never loved me. So what was this about? Nothing. Just get me back, I suppose. It's fairly easy to make a girl fall in love with you. If you didn't have a conscience, you could do damage with just your indifference. Thank you. I think I'm the last person, so I should say thank you for everybody. Thanks to all the different poets and to Elaine and UCD for organising today. It was a really great thing to be a part of, and I think we heard some incredible, incredible work today, and thanks for listening. Thank you.